All right, this is my sprint 6 video report for engine. So start of the collision system. This is my demo scene just to walk through things. We have frigates and cottages, 2 frigates, 1 cottage. So when a frigate is created, you set the collidable group, which will create a new collidable group if possible, or if it needed, and then set the ID, and it's unique for each type. And then the collision registration, which will send it through the typical registration broker and will add this collidable to the list of collidables in the particular collidable group. The cottage does the same thing. And then when you also do the set collision pair, so you actually tell the collision manager that you want to watch for a collision between these 2 types. It finds the 2 group types, creates the dispatch needed for those types, and pushes back the pair command. So you can either do pair or self. The pair command, when it's executed, goes through the different both of the collections and checks all the different pairs between those 2. Nothing smart happening yet. Just checks every single pair. And then with the self, it checks all the pairs within that one group. So yeah, just implemented what we talked about. Here I did a diagram just to double check that I had everything. So I think it matches the diagram that we had in class. Manager, collidable group. Yeah. In terms of tests, so yeah, I have this collision test scene demo. It creates 2 frigates and 1 cottage and then registers all these collision pairs. So when the groups are set, it will print a message that says, hey, this type ID was set to this number. So that's the one thing it'll print, and then it'll also just print the collisions, because right now we're not doing any actual testing. So in the dispatch, where am I doing that print? I'm not exactly sure where I'm doing those prints, actually. Oh no, sorry, in the actual collision event of the actual game objects. So in the frigate collision, yeah, here we go. In the frigate collision, it'll say collision with a frigate or collision with a cottage, and same with the cottage. So anyway, if I run it, and I'm just gonna exit out of it and look at the print messages. So first thing we notice is at the beginning we get the type IDs. So since we have 2 frigates, they both get set to type 0. So even though 2 are registered, it's the same thing because we have that static integer. And then the cottage is set to ID 1. And then in terms of the actual collisions we get, what we expect is that each frigate and cottage pair should have 2 messages. So the frigate with the cottage, cottage with the frigate, that's the first frigate. And then frigate with cottage, cottage with frigate, the second frigate. And then we also have 2 frigates, and they should be colliding with each other. So we have frigate with frigate and frigate with frigate, one for each of the frigates that are colliding with a thing of the same type. So I think that that is enough testing, hopefully. Yes. Yeah. So right, that's everything for collision. In terms of my demo, I didn't really do much for the demo. My main thing was to get, okay, let me just play what I have. So last time I just had a tank, and some enemy tanks spawning, and I had the bullets working, but I didn't have, the camera moving with the tank, and I didn't have a kind of, offset for the gun. Like the bullets were just coming out of the middle of the tank. So now I have the math working for those matrix multiplication offsets, so that the camera rotates with the turret, and the gun, you can see this, I just have a circle or a sphere wireframe to show where the gun is, and the bullets are actually coming out of the gun. So that math took me longer than it should have. So that's kind of why I only got to doing that. But it's starting to look a little more like a game. The camera probably needs to be shifted a bit, because like, yeah, it should be shifted a bit so that you're actually aiming like down the middle of the camera should be like where you're aiming. But anyways, yeah, I think I have a pretty good setup so that when we actually do the collision tests with the different tanks and with the bullets, I should be able to test it pretty well. So, yeah, that is all I got for this sprint.